the polls. And we get her started. All right. Hi, everybody who's been in the waiting room. Thank you for joining us. We are just 2 minutes away from our webinar. There we go. Um, Getting everything, and that's where the annotations comes in. Awesome. Thank you for joining us. If you're looking for the HEM webinar, you're in the right place. We're just 2 minutes away. Okay, so now I'm sending my request to share, which should activate here. There we go. No problem. Perfect. Now, just want to make sure that's there. Make sure this is here. Make sure that this is perfect. Yeah, okay. Just 1 minute away from our HEM webinar about Google Analytics. So GA4, Google Analytics 4 is our topic for today, and we're going to get into it. It's going to be fun. All right, let's begin. Let's get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us to this HEM webinar series presentation of actionable analytics in GA4, Google Analytics 4. We're going to be focusing on your website analytics and what it can mean, how it can be applied to turning insights into enrollment growth. This is brought to you by HEM Education Marketing Solutions. HEM is in its 16th year. We are an agency focused to solely serve the education sector in digital marketing because we understand that e-commerce for schools and schools of all types, sizes, public and private, colleges, universities, K to 12s, community colleges, vocational schools, language schools, small groups, large, doesn't matter. When you all are utilizing digital marketing to attract, engage, and enroll a new student, it's completely different than any other e-commerce out there. So that's why HEM for 16 years is expert in this. These are the service lines that we offer, and many of them involve Google Analytics and looking to data to inform the decisions we make, the strategic decisions. So that's who we are and what we do. I'm Scott Cross, your regional manager across Canada and the US, and this is our agenda for today. We're going to begin by just kind of talking about Google Analytics 4 and what its mindset is, kind of its approach to measurement, how it's different from what Google Analytics used to be. And then we're going to apply the reports and the tools to the different stages in an enrollment journey, that awareness and discovery stage, the engagement consideration stage, and then the decision-making enrollment stage. So we're going to look at the end about visualizing the person's journey through the many touch points they might have that got them to your website, bounce around. So I think you'll find this really useful. We're going to really craft it directly for the use of someone who works at a school. That's our job. We begin by stating the obvious, that to many of us, GA4 or Google Analytics overall is overwhelming. In fact, those of you who are super comfortable with it probably remember the time when initially It was overwhelming. It's a lot of numbers, it's a lot of data, it's easy to get into a rabbit hole, and sometimes it's difficult to know exactly where to go. That's why we're here today. But the good news is that Google Analytics 4 is it provides more clarity than data, which is helpful. It's in a new event-based tracking system. So that replaces just statistic after statistic. The old system was just numbers. This is more about the user's journey while they're in your website. And so it's easier to see which metrics and actions drive real enrollment decisions. So we're going to walk through those different stages with that in mind. Today, we're really going to work to simplify it. I'm going to talk about the specific reports and places to go during each of these stages. And I'm also going to talk a little about the places where you don't need to go. Don't even worry about it. A reminder while we're getting started here, your microphones are on mute. It allows me to get through all of the content of the webinar. There is a Q&A prompt in your Zoom menu bar. So please feel free at any time during the webinar to type in a question. And what I'll do at the end is I'll open that up and I'll answer your question. So I'll be happy to go with you. Let's talk more about, and then a little visually, how Google Analytics 4 is different from what it was before. So we're now 6 years into Google Analytics' new change, new system and outlook. So we're not going to spend too long on this, but before, it was kind of like a filing cabinet. You could pull out the page views drawer, you could pull out the goals drawer, you could pull out the sessions drawer, and it would show you the data that involves sessions, events, page views. Today, it's more like a stream, and it treats those different events, a page view, a scroll, generating a lead. It treats them kind of as drops of water that feed into the stream as the user is going through their journey. So it's much more relating to, well, honestly, how we want to understand what our traffic is doing on our website, because we're going to apply it in that way. So that gives you hopefully another idea of what we're looking at here. If you're new to HEM webinars, we do polls, and I'm going to launch our first poll right now. Our first question for you, and this is anonymous, when it comes to GA4, where are you right now? Are you avoiding it? Are you dabbling? Are you checking it weekly? Or are you in it all the time? I live in it all the time. So let us know. I'd love to hear from you to understand, where is GA4 with you right now? And it helps me to understand the audience and also might help you to see how you compare to everyone else. So let's go ahead and share those results. And we have some dabblers, we have some checkers, and we have an avoider. Totally cool. This will be helpful, I think, for you because we're going to keep it relatively simple, but then we get more advanced as we go. But as we go through the stages, really the idea is to show you what to go to and the places to go and the metrics to check for each stage. So thank you for that. Thank you for voting. We'll begin with that discovery stage, tracking early curiosity and channel quality. So channels being organic search, paid social media, that type of thing. So we'll be tracking each of those. And as I go through the different reports, I'm always going to show you this menu bar on the left of Google Analytics so you know where I'm talking about. And it also helps because in a day or three, you will receive an email from HEM that has this deck and that has the recording of this webinar on it. So you'll be able to go back and understand when I'm talking about the traffic acquisition report, you'll know that it's in reports, which is the second blue circle, under lifecycle acquisition, and now we're at traffic acquisition. So I'm going to try to show you that each time. This is a helpful report in the awareness stage because this tells you which channels bring quality visitors to your website. It is where we can measure engagement rate, like clicks and scrolls and conversions, so that we can understand which platforms are not just bringing good numbers, but engaged numbers. The metrics that we're going to focus on are things like an engaged session or user, engagement rate, event count in session. Engagement in a term here simply means they've done more than just come to the website. They've clicked to go to another page. They've scrolled at least 90% through the first page or a second page. They've spent at least a minute or at least 2 minutes or at least 3 minutes. Each of these thresholds, they click through and basically they're identified as having engaged in that measurement. So it's important to understand engagement means they're interested. They want to read more. They're spending more time on your site. And that's really where we are in this early stage. We just want to know they didn't just hop in and hop out, they stayed. And when we go to the traffic acquisition report, at the very top, there's actually a really helpful bar graph that shows you quite clearly, hey, for the past 30 days, organic search has been our number one feeder to traffic on our website. Direct is number two. Direct means someone has come to your website either because they've been there before or because they know the URL. So it's not as if they're searching for you and get you through search. They type it in, or maybe you're bookmarked to some degree, but they know your URL. So there's, the chart on the left kind of throws all these pitching up and down. So that the downward pitch in each of, you see a bit of a cycle here with peaks and valleys. The valleys are Saturdays. That's when schools have the fewest amount of visitors to their website. The peaks are typically Tuesdays, Wednesdays. And then we got Sunday, kind of Sunday. In this case, it looks like a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But it could be Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday when you get your peak. What I did at the bottom is I clicked on organic search. And that way it shows me just organic search in that whole kind of web of many lines. I can tune out the others, focus on just one. So that's a nice little trick as well. When you scroll down in the traffic acquisition report beyond those graphs and charts, you see which channel is driving these visitors to your website. So we're really just looking for active users. These are individuals, so people who are coming, more people coming from organic search. Direct, as we said, is second. Then we've got email and referral. And we're also at this stage in the awareness stage, as I mentioned, we're looking for engagement. An engagement rate is really the best way to measure this because it gives us kind of a more true identity of, you see referral traffic is at a 48%, organic search is at a 51%. Those are the top two most engaged places that are sending traffic your way. Email, not so much. Organic social, not so much. I don't worry about engaged sessions or sessions, but really engagement rate is that metric that gives it in a number that you can really go, aha, this stands out. This I can understand. So keep that in mind. In that same report, you can go up to session source / medium and change it. Well, choose session source / medium. Initially, we were at session primary channel group, but we're going to go to source medium. What that means is it's going to break it down beyond just organic. What organic? Well, Google organic. Beyond just email, what email? Well, the HubSpot email. Beyond just referral, we're seeing the referrals are coming from ChatGPT and Perplexity. So that's interesting too. We've got AI feeding traffic to our website. So this is just another way to dig a little deeper. Again, you've got your numbers here showing the number of active users, and we now can measure the engagement rate of these different. So we can see, interestingly, if you want to pick it apart, being organic brings far fewer visitors to your website than Google organic, far fewer. But we see their engagement rate is a little bit higher, 1 point higher. So again, the numbers of Google far out and surpass the Bing traffic. But interestingly, the Bing traffic is a little more engaged. Those are the little nuances you can look for in your Google Analytics. During this awareness stage, we're also going to go to the user acquisition report. So we're one up from traffic acquisition where we just were. And we're going here because we want to understand where our new users coming from. We're at this awareness stage, and that's where you want to be introduced to new folks. You're probably doing some awareness campaigns on social media and maybe ads, and you want to know if that's driving traffic to your website. It basically helps you to understand those campaigns are working, or it could help you to understand predictive lead quality before they convert. Let's see how we mean there. In the user acquisition report, it's pretty clear to see, again, same GA data, so to speak, but now it's defined by users, total users, and new users versus returning users. So again, in awareness, we're focusing on new users. And again, organic search is number one, emails number two, referral number three. Direct, as we've already defined, they kind of come directly through. They may be members of your staff. They could be students coming in if you have a student portal in your website. So keep that in mind. So that's kind of the no-brainer, right? Organic search, email, and referral. The other learning element I have here is an opportunity in organic social. Organic social is sixth. That simply means we didn't do any ads in social media. Just through our day-to-day posts, people are coming to the website. 90 people in the past 30 days. It's a very low number compared to the other sources. That leads me to understand, or social media is an opportunity for us to do more posts with purposeful links to the website to invite them to read an article, read a feature, watch a video, check out our program page. And that can help to drive that number, that 90, up higher, especially when it comes to new users. So that's a way of tracking the user acquisition report and kind of putting it to work for you and informing things you can do. Also in the user acquisition report, and overall, I invite you to go to the right of your Google Analytics screen, and sometimes you'll see the insights. It's basically an invitation. Would you like to get automated insights on basic performance, demographics, user acquisition, traffic analysis, all kinds of things, right? So we're going to take one step to the left. In the center here, I've chosen traffic analytics, and it has some prompts, some already set up questions. What is month over month growth in users? So I clicked on that and it shows in this case, it's actually a bit of a drop. We had a climb and then a drop over the past year in users. So again, these are really useful little prompts that I encourage you to play with. I wouldn't spend more than 2 to 5 minutes down any rabbit hole and really be aware of that. But this is one that can show you some useful information right off the bat. Also in the awareness stage, I want to point out the landing page performance report. So again, we're in reports, we're in lifecycle, engagement, and landing page. Basically, in this case, Google is defining the landing page as the first page they came to when visiting your website. So what you'll see quite typically is that with just that little hash mark, that means, or slash mark, that means your home page. That's identified as your home page. So that is by far going to be your number one. And sometimes it's listed as site. So essentially together, those are your home page. The third one is a program page for POAC. So it's interesting to see that a program page is one of the other core drivers of traffic. And if it's not, this is when you can kind of put some thoughts together and see if in the next month or 3 months, we want to increase posts on social media with links to our website that invite social media folks to come to the website and list specifically the program page that you're trying to focus on or promote the most. Again, this is unpaid, but you can nudge that metric higher and then track it here and see how many are coming, how long they're spending on that page. It's where pages are introducing your brand and where new users are seeing your brand for the first time. So it's really helpful to make kind of basically push your program pages up in this list the most you can by promoting them to some degree. We're going to look at a few other discovery metrics that matter, and that is engagement rate, scroll depth, program page clicks, and some early micro events. So let's take a look at what those are. As we go in the reports to engagement and we go down to events. So we're going to start actually in overview. And here in overview, I found this actually kind of interesting. And these are the times when you look at those charts and graphs at the top of each page, give them a glance. And in this case, I set the time frame up to the past year. And what this showed me, which I didn't know, is that maybe even right on the 1st of February, we had a major event of a lot of folks coming to the website. So what I'm going to do is go look back to what happened on Feb 1 of this year in our school that drew everybody in. Um, and how can we duplicate that? Or is there a way to have that happen again and again? I might even look at, late August, early September. It looks like the end of August, we had a similar bump. You'll likely see this with the time of year that traffic comes to the website based on enrollment decisions, application decisions, deadlines. But it's also a place where you can go to see when did we get a whole lot of traffic and how can we um, replicate that. So now we go to engagement events. And events, again, defined in Google Analytics, are really just things people do on your website. View a page, start a session, um, any engagement or first visit, first time ever. What we find is an interesting one is scrolling. And this is very much a content and design type of a data point and a metric that talks to us about is the content on our program page, let's just say, is that content interesting enough that people want to scroll through it? Is it designed well enough? Is the user experience easy enough that it leads them through the page and that they want to scroll? A scroll is when they scroll through 90% of that page's content. And once they do, it counts as one event in this, metric count here. So we've got an average of 1.29 scrolls per page. And this is one of those awareness metrics that we just want to have more and more of because it means people are reading our content and it's engaging them to go to the very bottom of the page. And we can also see another events per session, kind of a spread of the past year in that traffic. And that mirrors what we saw in February, that big peak. So again, this is just data that supports other data that says what happened there. We want to learn more about it. And then as we go into also pages and screens, as you scroll down, you can see which pages people are reading most on your site. And this is, again, in those earlier stages, it helps you to understand our program pages up top. Now, this is actually from HEM's website, and you can see the first one is about our services. So that's one that we would expect to see as the number one, winner. The next one is about our marketing ebook. So people downloading our ebook. And then it's blog, blog, blog. So it's very much true to the efforts we make. We make a real concerted effort to have a new blog each week, to have it on best practices of today's digital marketing for education so that it's a resource to you. Looking at this report, we can see that all those efforts of having our team focus on writing those blogs and researching them, it's paying off. It's driving a great deal of traffic to our website repeatedly and lots of views. If we haven't talked about not set or not assigned yet, that simply means these are the people who have opted out of tracking, either through their Apple phone or just other ways that they can choose not to be tracked. This is now, as you can see, a growing majority of users who are saying, please don't track me. So you can't see where they go, who they are, where they're from, where they came from. Um, it basically what it has us doing is relying more on the data we do have because it's all we got in that case. So it's important to understand what does not set mean. In addition to showing you the pages that are important to you in this awareness stage, we're also sharing with you the ones not to worry too much about. Because of those opting out, I wouldn't worry too much about demographics that it's collecting. Also, tech reports, you don't need to spend time on them unless you're involved in debugging the website. And real-time reports, although they're fun, who's on our website right now, they mean nothing strategically. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, poll number 2. And we're kind of going into the next stage, which is about key events. So I'm interested to know, as we launch the poll, are key events set in your Google Analytics for today? Your votes are anonymous. So please let us know if yes, you have key events set up, or maybe you think you do, you're not certain, or not yet, you mean to, but you just haven't gotten to it, or maybe you just don't quite know what key events are. Um, So please vote. Thank you for voting. Good time to remind you that you will receive the recording of this webinar in your email in a few days. You'll also get the webinar deck in your email. So, all right, let's go ahead and share those results and see where everybody came out. And we've got most of you checking in on, that you've set your key events. Some of you not certain, not yet, and not sure of exactly what that is. Well, this is perfect because we're going to kind of go through an accelerated key events lesson. So thank you very much for voting. Um, it comes into play during the engagement and decision-making stage. This is when students are evaluating their options and really building interest, exhibiting intent. The more that they read about you, and if they like more about you, they'll continue to read about you and they'll begin to engage. So what we're looking at now is in reports, we're going to business objectives, user engagement and retention, pages and screens. This is where we want to understand the name of the page and screen, basically which pages are moving students forward, which pages don't, and identify your highest value content in this regard. So let's take a look at what we have here. This is a pretty involved screen, so I'm going to walk through it slowly. First of all, we're in business objectives, user engagement, pages and screens, and then I've chosen page screen landing page and query string. So we've got what we're doing is we're asking about traffic to a specific page, and we're asking where did they come from in order to get to that page. So this is our destination page on the left. This is our referral page, the page they were at before that brought them. And to make the destination page count, to make it like a really meaningful page, maybe you would pick a program page in this regard. What I've chosen is the thank you page for those people who have filled out the contact us form. So we said, hey, contact us, want to get in touch? And they gave their first name, last name, email, phone, whatever you asked for them, and click submit. Then they got the confirmation contact us page that said, thank you for sending us your contact information. A member of our team will be with you shortly. So that's an ultimate destination. That's a really important page. That means people are engaged truly to the point of let's talk. And so the referral pages, what pages lead people to that? Well, it's not a surprise that the home page or the contact us page are tops, right? So that makes sense. It's very good to see and nice to know that our program pages for vocational nursing and for a bachelor's of science in nursing in this school's example is also sending 28 and 23 people to fill out that form in the past 30 days. So that in itself is useful information. And what you want to do now is check this metric regularly, monthly, to see if that 28 and 23 went up to a 48 and a 43 in a month, or a 58 and a 53. And you can see that number hopefully grow over time. Now take it back to the other campaign we talked about. What if we did more on your social media to promote these two courses, for example, or these program pages with links to those program pages? In fact, you could do that in addition into your e-newsletter that you put out each month or each quarter. The more activity you're pushing to generate traffic to the program pages, you would want to come back and see if that's resulting in not only additional traffic to those pages, but additional contacts, people filling out those forms. So it's a way to put your, again, putting your analytics to work to really drive, hopefully, future students. So when you break that down, again, we're in engagement and in pages and screens. We're able to do another couple of things. So again, here are those program pages. What I've done for one is I've compared the past 30 days of this month to the past 30 days of this time 1 year ago. And we're able to see um, how did that measure out? Now, in terms of views and active users, it's likely that this vocational nursing program page didn't exist a year ago. So that's a new program. We are seeing, what was the traffic then and now in both these other programs. So we're able to see that. But as we get deeper into the funnel, as it were, so we started at the awareness stage. If you remember, now we're at that mid-funnel place. So these are the metrics that we're talking about, true engagement, not just scrolling and viewing a page, but what are called key events. And that's defined as a click on your website that is indicative of a truly interested prospective student. And in this case, those numbers are here today. And again, those probably weren't tracked a year ago this time. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to reset this in my future research and look at this month to month to month to month and see if the key events happening from our program pages are increasing month after month after month. Again, as a result, perhaps, of the efforts I'm doing in social media in our e-newsletter. So this is helpful to see as well in that mid-funnel area. Let's break it down now as we get into key events. So the events on the website in Google Analytics are relatively simple. Page view, scroll, started a session, clicked, first visit, really simple stuff. These things happen regularly, regularly, regularly. The key events on your website, as I'd mentioned, are those special clicks just on your website that are indicative of someone's interested. So these are from the HEM website. So we've got contact us, free consultation, free trial of our HEMSP online application portal and CRM. Again, we've got a portal demo application, a free trial application, lead consulting services, free assessment. These are the forms that people can fill out and click submit that indicate this is someone who's truly interested to have a conversation about digital marketing services. So I want you to ask yourself what would count as a key event at your school on your school's website. Here are some really basic ones that a lot of us share, but you may have specific ones, and that's where you can go to set these up in your website. For those of you who haven't done this, we got a couple of screens to help you define exactly how to. First, it's funny, we don't necessarily begin with the key event itself. This is on the left is the form, right? So download a free brochure. So this is the download a brochure page, but that's not the one we want to measure. We want them to fill out the form, click submit, and then be shown the thank you page. It's the thank you page that we want to measure because that indicates they've submitted the form. They haven't just begun it and then moved on or seen it and moved on. They've actually submitted it. So that's the key event is the thank you page. So how do you set that up in your key events? Quite simply, And again, you're going to get this recording in your emails and you're going to get the deck, so you'll be able to refer back to this. In Google Analytics, go to your admin, which is the gear in the bottom left. Once you open it, look down to data display and events. And then in events, you have two ways of doing this. Uh, we'll start with B, actually. You can just click the star on an existing event and define it as a key event. These are the events every website has. But to make it more specific to your actual website, and in the case of the thank you page we just saw, I'm going to click A and create an event. And when I do, I go to step 4. First of all, I'm going to define what the event is, and it's the thank you page for Contact Us. And then down here, I'm going to simply put in the URL of that thank you page for the page view being the event name on this website, and I'm going to click create. And so that turns that into a key event. Again, you'll have the opportunity to come back to this to see how that plays. That's really where key events become important in those mid-funnel steps. What you don't need to worry about at this time is your cohort analysis, your user lifetime report, your exploration of default templates. Just, again, focus on what's going to matter to you and maybe the data you can use to understand your users a little more and where your folks are coming from and where the most engaged folks are coming from. Okay, time for our last poll. I want to know, in your Google Analytics, how deep in the student journey do you use GA4 for tracking? Are you using it for just page views and increasing or decreasing traffic? Are you tracking clicks and conversions? Are you tracking the sources that bring clicks and conversions? Or are you tracking all the way down to applications completed by a traffic source? So we're going to let you vote here. And again, your voting is anonymous. It's a great time to remind you that you're going to receive this recording in your email as well as the webinar deck in the next 3 days or so. Thanks again for taking the time to be with us today. We appreciate that. Okay, so how deep do you use your GA4 for tracking? Let's go ahead and show the results and see what everybody said. And then we're going to go to our next and final stage. A majority of you are looking at those earlier ones, and some of you are getting into clicks, conversions, and sources of conversions. Some of you even tracking all the way down to applications. So that must mean your application is embedded within your website and you're able to understand who started and completed an application in the website. There's no wrong answer here. As we have defined, there are important metrics in the early stage, in the middle stage. We're about to step into the last stage. So it's just helpful to understand kind of where you are and maybe where you could go to learn more about your students. So let's go on into the enrollment stage where we're really tracking that readiness, friction, and conversion patterns of your folks. So first, I want to show you where we are in Google Analytics. We're not at home. We're not in reports. We've moved to Explore. And explorations, they have some templates for you. We're going to look at the funnel exploration and the path exploration. First, the funnel exploration is really going to help us understand, of all of the people who came to our program page, how many people went to the request for information form, how many people who went there, how many people filled it out, for those who maybe started an application from the program page, and how many submitted their application for the program page. This is really the best case scenario you would want. We're not able to see it quite to this degree, but I wanted to just give you an idea of what we're trying to put together in the world of what can Google Analytics shows us that's as close as it can be to this. So I've built a funnel here that shows first visit. So I defined it to be just their very first visit to the website. This was my query. I want to say you could do repeat users instead of first visitors if you want. In this case, how many people from their first visit go to a program page during that session? and ultimately fill out a form from their very first visit. So what this tells us is, we have 60,000 some come to first visit in this given period of time. 26,000 or so go to a program page, and about 125 fill out the form. So again, this is a number I can look at each month or each quarter and look to see, is that growing or is it shrinking in time? And what is this telling me about what more I could or should be doing to drive traffic to the program page? And then, of course, you've got your abandonment rate, people who just leave, people who go to the program page and just leave. That's natural. That's going to happen. So what I want to show you now is how we set that up. So in settings, I'm clicking on the little pencil. So I'm in edit, my funnel steps. I'm editing my funnel steps. So step one, I just typed it in to label it as first visit because I chose the event being first visit, right? That's it. Second event is program page visit. And I defined that as a page title, so a URL of a page that includes the word program. So what you need to do before you just default to this is double check, does every one of your program pages have the word program in the URL of that page, in the web address of that specific web page? If so, then you can do the same thing, drop the word program in here. Or maybe there's another shared term. So keep that in mind. So now we've defined program. And the third, I just called lead capture because I listed multiple forms, the submit lead, the event registration, the meeting booked, meeting slot selected. We have a few different key events listed that would involve capturing someone's contact information. It's either this one or that one or that one or that one. So those are all lead captures. You can define it for just a single form if you wish. I did it for all, and it gave us the data that we're looking at. So that's how that is built, and that's how you can kind of go to the point of building that type of a report. We're back to it now. And in this case, I defined a specific page, the nursing program page. We're able to see completion rates of completing the first visit and going to the nursing page, and then that, 0.5% go on into lead capture. So we're able to, again, look at numbers, at metric numbers. These are numbers we'd like to see grow. So, look at specific numbers that, elapsed time doesn't really do a lot for me in terms of, am I moving the meter here? But completion rate is that metric that I think we can measure month after month after month to see if we're moving the meter. Now, when we go to path exploration, this is just useful to understand when they start a session, where do they go from there? As we see, this is HEM now, we see to get more students with our online marketing services, this is our services page, and we would expect that to get the most people, the most visitors, and it does. We now see blog, 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 in the next ones, as I'd said. That's kind of our bread and butter, so that is expected. And interestingly, when I checked this out earlier this week, the December webinar that we're in right now is the next web page on our site that got the most traffic thereafter. So we're able to, again, if you're promoting an event, if you're hosting a web page that promotes that event, tells all about it, has the registration on it, you can look to see if that page is seeing the increased traffic that you would hope it would. Okay, we're going to wrap it up with some bottom of the funnel metrics that matter. We are, again, in reports. We're in lifecycle acquisition, and really kind of a total ROI page is the traffic acquisition page. So we're in traffic acquisition, and we're in right now just session primary channel group. Very basic, paid search, organic search, referral. Where are we getting traffic? So that's super helpful. Once we drill that down into, remember how we did this earlier, we chose source medium rather than just the default. Now we're choosing source medium so we can see Google pay-per-click, Google organic versus Bing organic, etc. And at these later sessions at the bottom of the funnel. So we're looking not just to see awareness and engagement, we're going to the right side of our chart and we're looking at those key events. Which of these not only drew the most traffic, but also drew the most key events, people filling out forms. We look at raw numbers in key events over the past, I'm guessing this is 30 days, and you can see the key event engagement rate. So the session rate per session, Google pay per click is driving most of the key events and the highest rate, actually, not the highest rate. Look at Google, or sorry, Bing cost per click ads are seeing a higher conversion rate than Google. So what this might tell us, because this is the second metric in this measure, this is that same one going back to the one we saw earlier where Bing didn't outproduce Google in true numbers, but it did outproduce Google in engagement rate and key events happening. This might tell us after seeing two metrics like that to say, what if we spent more on Bing and a little less on Google? Not like a complete flip, because we know Google is the number one place where so many people go. You see the numbers in front of you. Google's huge as a driver of traffic to the website. But this might tell us we could allocate more money to Bing and maybe get more for our money. So again, we're learning from these metrics. More learning comes from parsing it out. So December 9th through the 15th of 2025 versus the prior period of time, the prior, what, 5, 6 days? And how are we doing? Are we growing? We're growing here, and we're growing here as well in the key events. So you're looking at comparing and getting context. So this date comparison allows you to provide context of what does that number mean to me? Is it going up? Is it going down? And then the key events, especially during this bottom of the funnel measurement, is really where the money is, right? This is where people are filling out the form and declaring their interest. One more level of depth you can take is when you click on key events, it'll list every single one of your events. And if we choose just one of them, now we can see it's a smaller number, but you're able to see, and you could click through each one of these one at a time, one at a time, one at a time, one at a time, and see what we found here is the form submit lead. That form is the one that drove the most key events last week and the past week. So we're able to see which of our contact us type forms are really getting the most business, people filling it out. All right, just some fun things you can look up in your Google Analytics. If you go all the way down into advertising and all the way down into attribution paths, you can see in the early stages of maybe first visits, repeat visits, and then late touch points, for example, leading to or resulting in a conversion, which channels drove that action. Paid search, number one across the board. Way more in the late touch points. So that helps to understand your ROI of paid search. Direct, again, that's traffic that knows you and is coming, maybe they're coming back because they've been here before, they just hadn't enrolled, but they're also driving those, late touch points. And look at how organic search plays a much more engaged role in the late touch points. If they've had multiple touch points, it was kind of involved in the early touch points. It fell a little in the mid touch points, but at the end, they began to search for you because they know of you, they've read about you, they want to learn more about you. So they're going to find you again. That may even be, attribution to the direct because these are folks who are coming back for a second or third visit. As you scroll down that same report, it begins to show just how many touch points there can be. So in those first four, these are direct shots from paid search, organic search, paid search. They go straight into your website and they fill out the form. But then it gets a little more complicated. There's paid search and organic search combined here. There's organic search, a referral, another organic search, a paid search, organic, paid, organic, paid. They're going back and forth. A total of 13 touch points before they filled out the form and attributed the key event over the course of 81 days. So granted, this is ninth in that list. There are another 20, 40 in this list. So this list likely goes to about 50. Um, but it's interesting how some can convert in no time at all. We've got 8 days to key event with two conversions through paid search. This helps to give us context of the efforts we're taking and making to do digital marketing for the school. Are they paying off and to what degree? The last thing I want to show you is a question we get all the time. Is AI sending traffic to my website? In reports, acquisition, traffic acquisition, set this to source medium as we've seen before. And then the last step you can do is after you've done all that, go to the search bar and type in the word chat. And what it's going to show you is anything with chat in the title. And in that case, you're able to see your sessions from ChatGPT. These are individually kind of different groupings, but this is your roll up. So last month it was 613 who came from ChatGPT alone, 508 the most recent 30 days. So that number's going down a little bit. You might think, huh, number's going down. Okay, I'd rather it going up, but now I know. Now we go to the far right where the ROI and the money comes in. Did they fill out a form? Did they click on a key event in our website? And this past 30 days, they did, whereas the 30 days prior, they did not. So again, we're seeing a little fewer visitors from ChatGPT, but we're seeing more engaged visitors. So all kinds of things you can learn from your Google Analytics. I hope you found this useful. This is a takeaways page that really, of course, oversimplifies everything, but it might be helpful for you. And I just want to make the invitation to you before we go to Q&A that we're available to provide you a free consultation on Google Analytics. We could spend time just looking at your Google Analytics, walking through it, and discovering together what you have going on, what's working well for you, and where you could turn to optimize. What opportunities do you have? So now it's time for Q&A. And I want to encourage you to type in a question if you have time left. Thank you for hanging around. So, a big rich one. What about Google Analytics and privacy laws in different countries like Austria? There's also a problem with France, Italy, even with GA4. How can we use it with that? That's a sticking point. That's clearly a sticking point. And what this attendee is referring to is that some countries in Europe do not allow Google Analytics to track because of privacy issues, because it gathers as much data as it possibly can. Um, and that's an issue. There's no question. And basically, it might prevent people from seeing your website because you have Google Analytics. So here's where we have two positions you can take. One position is that if Google Analytics works for your school's website, it's free and it is so advanced and so um, used around the world with the exception of these cases. It is likely, if you're working only in North America, only in the United States, only in Illinois, for example, then we'd say use Google Analytics because it's free and it's powerful, it's useful. A lot of people know how to use it, so there's a lot of help and resources toward it. If you're targeting, especially specifically, countries in Europe, you would want to look at a different analytics package, not Google Analytics. That takes more privacy into mind. So check with your countries, and in each of these countries, are there some accepted analytics packages that you can apply to your website instead of Google Analytics? You can turn Google Analytics off. So great question. Not an easy one. They're not easy things, but appreciate that. We've run out of time. It's super long here. Thank you for taking your time with us. Hope you found this helpful. Please give me a call, and I'd love to dive into your Google Analytics and see if we can help you in that regard. Thanks very much. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.